Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be doing the product preview card component challenge from Frontend Mentor. So you can head over into frontendmentor.io/challenges and you can click on this card and you can get started. So if you've not started the challenge yet, you're going to have a download button which is going to allow you to download the starter files for you and you can just follow the steps. But since I've already started it, then I can open up my downloads folder and I'm going to have a zip file inside here called product preview card component main, which I'm just going to extract inside here. And then once I extract it, then it's going to extract into this folder, which I'm going to open up with Visual Studio Code by right clicking and saying open with code. So once this opens up, you can see that we have our design files, we have our images, the gitignore, the index.html, our readmes, and our style guide. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to create an index.css file, which is going to house all our CSS. VS Code is hanging a bit. Okay, and then I'm also going to create an index.js file. Oh, sorry, do we really need JavaScript? Let me check the designs. I don't think we need JavaScript. Yeah. Okay, so we're not going to need any JavaScript. So we're only going to work with our CSS file and our index.html. So what I'm going to do now is inside my index.html, and I should mention that I'm going to be using Live Server, which is an extension that allows me to perform hot reloading, which means that every time that I save my the code in my code editor, then it's automatically going to reload in the browser. So you can go ahead and install this extension. It is called Live Server. So once I have that, then I'm going to go inside my index.html and let me see how this looks. First of all, let's remove this CSS from here and paste it inside our CSS file. And then let's make this 14 pixels. And then let's go ahead and remove this because we no longer need it. But let's remember to link our style sheet, which we have just created, called index.css. And then let's link this into our website. So .netlify.app. And then change this to my name. Now it goes without saying that obviously you want this to link to your website or your portfolio or your GitHub profile and so on and so forth, and then this should be your name. And then now let's see what we need to do. So we have our style sheet. Let me move this upwards. We have our style sheet and we have our preview. So let's take a look at our design. So we have our body with this background color, and then we have a container here that has an image on the left. This seems to be an H2, then the H1, then the paragraph, then the prices here. This one is crossed out, and then we have a button. This is the active state. So let me check so this is the actual color of the button. And then on the active state, then the button color becomes just a bit darker. Okay, so what we're going to do is this. We are going to grab all the text inside here, place it inside a div with the class of container. So container, I'm using emmet, so I can say dot container, and it's going to create a div with a class of container. And emmet comes pre-installed with Visual Studio Code. But if you're using another text editor, then you can head over into, I think it's emmet.io. I think that's the website. And then you can download emmet. So it's called https emmet.io. I think this is the website. I'm not too sure. You'd have to do a bit of research if this is not the website. Okay, so what we're going to have now is I want to separate this image to be one article and then this whole text to be another article. So I'm going to say placing an article inside here and then placing my image, which is coming from /images. And we have the desktop image and the mobile image. So instead of doing this, we're going to use the picture tag. So I'm going to add the picture tag inside here. And then the picture tag inside here is going to take in a source media attribute. And inside here, I'm going to pass in 768 pixels. And so what this means is that we are checking for a device width which is greater than 768 pixels, which are usually tablets. And when the device width is greater than 768 pixels, then we want our desktop image to show up. So the source set for this is going to go into /images / what's it called, image product desktop. So image-product desktop.jpg. Is it JPEG or PNG? JPEG. Okay. And then now we need to have a default value which is going to show when the device width is less than this. And so the default value that I'm going to have inside here is just the mobile image. So the /images/mobile. And you know what, probably because I realized that in our CSS, we're also going to add a media query to limit this container. So I'm going to change this into about maybe 640 pixels. Probably this is good enough. We're going to figure it out in our CSS. And then once we have that, then I'm going to grab this remaining text and place it inside another article, like so. And then this text, I'm going to place it inside an H2, which is going to be preview. And then this one is going to be inside an H1. So basically we're just structuring this. And then this text is going to be inside a paragraph. So cut it out, paragraph. And then we're going to have this, which is going to be inside the UL with two list items like so. And then the first one is going to say 149. And then the second one is going to say this one. So cut it out and place it inside here. And then let's see, this is going to be our button. So we can just have a button with a class of btn that says that. Okay, so let's see what we have now. That's basically it. Okay, so let's save this and then let's go inside our style guide, and we need to grab our colors. So just copy these colors inside here, and then I'm just going to paste them on top of this inside comments. And then what I'm going to do now is the font size by default is 14 pixels. So I'm going to go inside the body. So I'm going to define my body to have a font size of 14 pixels, which is going to be our default root EM value. And then we can go inside. Now we need the Montserrat and the font size fonts. So the font size is for the headings. Yes, this is the font size font. You can, you know, when you use fonts a lot, you can just tell just by looking at them. And then the Montserrat 500 and 700. So let's go ahead and grab these fonts. So just open this link. So we need the 500 and 700. So the 500, where is it? Medium 500, and the what? The 700, the bold 700. And then we also want a font called font size. So let's go back and search for a font called font size. And then we need the 700 for this one. Yes. So the 700, bold 700. Copy this, and then you can just copy the import tag inside here. So copy, and then inside our CSS we can just paste it on top. You know what, I'm just going to paste it below this because we're going to remove this at the end anyways. So I'm going to save this, and you know what, before I actually save this, I want this body to have a font family of Montserrat and a default fallback, sorry, of sans serif. And then I want my H1 and H2 because we only have the H1 and H2 and no other headings. So for both of these, I'm going to have a font family of font size with a fallback of sans serif. And you know what, I'm actually doing this wrong. Let me just check the design. I'm actually doing this wrong because font size is on this heading and on this price inside here. Those are the only two places where we're using font size. So what we need to do now is the H1 can remain like this, but I'm going to add a custom class of price here. So I'm going to be adding this custom class of price inside this particular list item, which is going to make it take the font family of font size. So let's save this, and then let's also save this, and then we can begin to take a look at our server by right clicking and saying open with live server. And this opens up inside here, and then I'm just going to place it to the right and place my code editor to the left so that we can begin styling this out. And the first thing that I'm going to do is target my asterisk and reset the margin to 0, reset the padding to 0, reset the box sizing to border box. And then once we do that, then I want to access all my images, set a max width of 100% so that they don't overflow outside of the container. And then I've just realized something. I need this icon. So let me check if they provide that icon. It's the icon cut. So I'm going to go inside my index.html, inside this button here, just going to add an image that says icon cut, and then save this, and then let's see what we have. We are not really going to see it because it's white. I mean, you can't see the outline, right? But it's white. We're going to change that in a moment. And you know what? Buttons don't take up the different font family of the body. So let me define that. So I'm going to say that for the button as well as for the list items, I want the font family to inherit. So inherit the font family of the body. Okay, so let's take a look at our mobile design. So our mobile should be this one. So it's basically stacked one on top of the other. Okay, that's not bad. Let's go ahead and now do this. Let's do this. The background color of the body needs to be cream. So let's copy this. I mean, at least I think it's cream. Copy this and give this body a background color of this. Okay, there we go. And then let's go ahead and let's see. The text for this is just a bit lighter. It's the same as this. And then the H1 needs to have this color. So let me access the H1. On top of this, let me give this a color of dark cyan. Should be it. I hope so. Copy this, paste it here. See how that looks. Nope, that's not the one. Very dark blue or dark grayish blue. Copy this and paste it here. Is that it? No, that's not it. So it should be, which one is this? 228. 228. So it should be very dark blue. Copy this and paste it inside here. There we go. And then the dot price, I've just realized that the dot price needs to have the green colors, which is the dark cyan. So copy this and paste it here. So the color for this should be this one. Okay, and then we can now go ahead and add the class of price here. Class equals to price, which means that now it's going to take up this one. There we go. And you can see it also takes up the font because we have defined the class of price to take up this font as well. So let's go ahead and style this H2. So the H2 has a color of what? Let's go ahead and style the H2. Let's first say text transform uppercase, transform to uppercase to make it capitalized. Let's change the font size to 1 rem. How does this look? And then let's change the font weight. So font weight, change it into it was 500 that we imported. Let me check. Where is it? 500. Okay, save this and we should have this. Okay, and then change the color for this as well. So change the color, and the color should be dark grayish blue. Dark grayish blue should be the one. Is it? Let me check. There we go. Okay, and then what we need to do is the paragraphs also need to have a color of dark grayish blue. So paste this inside here, and then I want to add a line height of 1.8 on the paragraphs. So 1.8, so they're just a bit more spaced out. And you know what, I've just realized this article has a background color of white. So let's go ahead and do that by doing this. Let's go inside the dot container class, and we're going to say that we want to access the article, which is the last child. So basically, which is the second article, because the last child inside this class of container. So the first one is going to be this article, and then the second one is going to be this second article, which is technically the last child. And we're going to say background color for this, change this into white. There we go, that's much better. And then let's go ahead inside our body and let's display the body as a flex. So display flex, because I want to center everything inside here, right? And then once I say display flex, I'm going to change the flex direction into column so that they stack one on top of the other. And then I'm going to say align item center and just click on it to the center, which is going to center them vertically and horizontally. And then in order to bring it to the center, then we need to have a fixed height. So I'm going to set the min height here to 100 viewport heights. And you know what, instead of just 100 viewport heights, because there are some mobile screens that are probably going to be less than this, which are going to cause an overflow. So I'm going to say calculate 100 viewport heights minus 0.1 pixels, so that the evaluated height is now going to be in pixels and not viewport heights, because viewport heights are not properly supported on mobile. So we're going to save this, and they are still going to be centered because 0.1 is so small that it is actually negligible. And then let's have a margin all around of, actually not, margin of 0 on the top and bottom, and 1.5 rem on the left and right to push it inwards just a bit. And then of course we need to remove these bullets. And then let's see, we can go inside the container. And then because now what you'll notice is that if I increase this, look at this, now the container, like, it's just going to continue growing until all the content can fit on one line. So in order to avoid that, then I can go inside the container, so the class of container, and I can give this container a max width of, let's say, 500 pixels. And what it's going to do is that it's going to limit the container to 500 pixels so that it's never going to overflow. There we go. Now let's remove these bullets before I forget them. So on top right above this, I'm just going to say UL list style type, set this to none. Fantastic. Now let's target this second article as well by just going inside our last child. Let's increase the padding to 1.5 rem all round. There we go. Let's increase the border dash radius to 0.5 rem. And something is wrong. There is a space here. I don't know why this space is here. I'm not sure why. Let me check something. So the image on top has a border, and then this one on the bottom has a border as well. So we need to restyle this. So it's going to be a border of 0, 0 on the top, and then 0.5 rem on the bottom right, and 0.5 rem on the bottom left. So that now this border radius is only going to apply on the bottom left and the bottom right, and it's not going to apply on the top. And then let's go ahead and, you know what, we can just do this, copy this, and let's change this into first child. And then inside the first child, meaning inside the first article, I want to access the image, and then I'm going to say add a border radius here of 0.5 rem on the top left, 0.5 rem on the top right, 0 on the bottom right, and 0 on the bottom left. So that now our image is also going to be rounded. And what, 0.5 seems a bit too small, so let me grab this text. Let's change this into about 0.6 to 5 rem. Let me see how that looks. Okay, let me change this into 1 rem. Yeah, let's deal with 1 rem. And then, you know what, because there's still a bit of space inside here, so let me do this. Let me set a margin top of -1 rem to push this white article upwards, which means it's just going to remove that space that we have inside here. Again, I'm not too sure why that space exists. Not too sure why, but this is working correctly. Now let's go inside the H2 once again, and let's add a space. Where was our H2? Here. Let's add some margin on the bottom of 1 rem to push it away from our H1, and then let's go inside the container H1. So the container H1, let's give it a margin on the bottom of 1 rem as well. Let's increase the font size to 1.5 rem. Okay, and then let's go inside our paragraph. So container paragraph, should I go below this or above it? Let me go below it. So let's go inside the container paragraph. Let's give it a margin bottom of 2 rem, and then let's go inside the list item. So the container UL, and then you can say display flex, and then you can say align it on center and justify content to the center. Sorry, not to the center, but you know what, we don't even need justify content to the center. And then I can go inside the container UL and LI. I want to access the first child, meaning only access this first list item. And then before I forget, let me also add a margin on the bottom of this UL. So margin bottom of 2 rem pushed away from this button. And then let's increase the font size of this. So font size, increase this to about 1.5 rem to be the same size as the H1 on top, because if you look at the design, this is the same size as this, and you know what, it's a bit bigger. So let's change this into 2 rem, and then let's go inside our H1 and change it into 2 rem as well. That's much better. And then we can go ahead and do this. We can set a margin on the right of 2 rem once again, you know. Okay, let's do 1 rem or 1.5 rem, so that it pushes away from this text. And then we can access the second list item. So container UL LI, and access the last child. If you don't want to use last child, you can say nth child 2, which is the second list item. And then what we're going to do is change the color into our very light gray, which is our, should be dark grayish blue, I think. Let's see this. Okay, into this. Okay, and then what we need to do is add a line inside here And in HTML, you can do that by just grabbing this text and placing it inside a tag called S. So just do that. Add S means strike through, I think should be it. Contents that are no longer accurate or no longer relevant. Okay, so this is the correct element. So S, and then it just adds the strike through. And that's how you can do that. And then now let's go ahead and style our button. So let me see how this looks. So the button, okay. So inside the container, we have a button, the class of btn. And inside here, I'm just going to give this a background color of this one. Change the color into white. Actually, how is this button full width? Yes, it's full width. And then it has a font weight of 700 as well. So font weight 700. And then we need to do this. We need to add a padding of 0.625 rem on the top and bottom. And we can add a padding of like 2 rem on the left and right, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to set the button to be a full width. And then let's remove the border that it has by default, so border none. And then we're also going to remove the outline, so outline none. We're going to change the cursor into pointer, so cursor pointer. And then we're going to add a transition, so transition all the properties by 0.3 seconds. And then let's add a border radius, so border dash radius. Let me see how this looks. Okay, that's small, so that about 0.625 rem. And there we go. So this is our button. And then you know what? This icon is just a bit to the top of this text. So what you can do is you can just say display flex, because remember that the image inside here, which is our icon, is inside the button. So technically the button here, technically the image here is the first element, and then this text is going to be the second element. So what we're going to do is display flex and then align item center and then justify content to the center, and it's going to do that. And then you can access the image inside the button. Oops, copy this downwards and then access the image, and then you can set the image to have a margin right of about 0.5 rem to push it away just a bit from this button. And let me increase the padding on the top of this button. It's a bit too small for me, so let's say padding of, let me see how 1 rem looks like. Yeah, let's do 1 rem. And then let's do this. We also need to say font size of 1 rem to increase the font size of this button. There we go. And then now I want to access the hover state of the button, so I'm just going to copy this downwards, and I'm going to say that for the hover state, then I want the opacity. Oh, wait a minute, it's not even the opacity. The color becomes darker. Where is it? The color becomes just a bit darker. So let's do this. Change the background color into, we're going to use this, but we're going to use our slider inside here just to make it a bit darker. So right around there, let's see how this looks. Yeah, that looks, that's looking nice actually. Let me compare to this color. Yes, they almost look same. Let me make it a bit darker right around there. Then let's save it. Let's see how this looks. That's much better. Okay. Now what do we need to do next? Because now we need to display these 2 items as a grid. That's the only thing that's remaining. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's see what we did. How did we structure this? This is the div, the class of container, and then it has the article and the article. So what we're going to do is we're just going to access to add a media query. So add media for a min width of, let's say, 640 pixels, and I chose 640 pixels because once again this is the width that I used inside here. I'm going to say that for the dot container class, I want this to display as a grid with the grid template columns to repeat twice with 1 fractional column each. And then let's see, this is going to happen. Of course, it messes up just a bit because remember, the reason why by the way it looks like this is because we added a fixed width, sorry, on the container. So let's increase the fixed width on the container. Is it here to 600 to make it just a bit wider? And you know what, let me say 700. No, that's too big. 600 is much better. 600. And then now let's do this. We need to reset a few things, quite a few things. But first, let me start by going into the attribution and adding a margin on top of 2 rem to push this text away from this just a bit. And then let's access this image to remove this border radius. So where did we add the border radius on that image? Where is it? It should be this one. So copy this link. Let me split this screen. So inside here we can just do that, and then we can just say that for the border radius, set this to 0. Okay, remove that. And then let's also access this white article, because remember it has a border radius here. So for the white article should be this one. Copy this inside here, and then change the border radius to 0 as well. And you know what, because these two properties, or like these two selectors, are using the same property of border radius to 0, you can just place a comma here and then paste this in, and then it's still going to work even if this is not going to be there. Okay, what I do? Okay, now what we need to do is, I want this image to take up the entire height. So let me try and do this. Let me try and do this. Okay, so I don't want to do this actually, because I'm going to be adding multiple styles inside here. So enable this once again, and then set the height inside here to 100%. Is it? Should be 100%. No, what is this margin on top? It had a margin on top. I don't remember adding the margin on top. But first of all, let's go inside the container, add a border radius of 0.625 rem on the container. Rem on the container. What? Container doesn't work. Okay, you know what? Instead of doing this on the container, now let's restyle this a bit. So we're going to have a border of 0.625 rem on the top left. So just copy this, and then it's going to be 0 on the top right, 0 on the bottom right, and then 0.65 on the bottom left. So basically add the border radius on this side, and not on this side. And then we're going to do the opposite on this article. So inside here we're going to say 0 on the top left, and then 0.65 on the top right, 0.65 on the bottom right, and 0 on the bottom left, which is going to add this on the right, and then it's going to add 0 on the left. And this container is still bothering me a bit. I don't know. Let me probably increase this to 650 or 640. And actually, you know what am I doing? Let me just look at this. Okay, so we have this. Oh, you know what, this is spaced out a bit. I just realized it. So let's do this. Where do we have our h2? We can go inside here. Let's say letter spacing 0.2 rem. So preview. Oh, wait a minute, it did not say preview. What? Oh, they messed up the text. Oh, they messed up the text. This does not say preview, it says perfume. So let's change the text to say perfume. It doesn't really matter because it's we have transformed it into uppercase, so it's going to always be uppercase. So perfume, make it smaller just a bit on the h2, font size 0.8 rem. Okay, and then now, okay, so let's change our container back to 600 pixels, and then now I want this to move to the top. How do I make the image move to the top? I can't remember. Let me check something. Let's go ahead and check our console here. So the image doesn't have anything on top. This is the padding on this article. This is padding on the article. I can't remember how to. I can add a fixed height on the image, but I didn't want to do that. So let me just do this. Let's see how 400 pixels looks like. So you see this now. I didn't want to do this, but something that you can do to subvert that is by just doing this. You can set the width to 100%, which means it's always going to take up 100% of the width, and probably change the height to 100%, but this is not going to work because of that, as you can see. So let's change the height into 600 pixels. Too big, so height is equal to 500 pixels. Still too big. Oh, wait a minute. even if it stretches out, even if it does stretch out, then the image is still going to do this. I don't understand why that happens. I don't understand why that happens. Let me remove the padding here. Padding, set this to 0. So this is going to happen. So re-enable the padding, and then grid template columns repeat to 1FR. Wait. This has a negative margin on top. This one has a negative margin on top. Let's find it. It has a negative margin on top. So let's set the margin top to 0. There we go. I mean, really. But now this problem is introduced on the bottom. I hate this thing. I hate CSS sometimes. Width is set to 100%. We can reduce some of these widths, not the widths really, but some of these margins inside here by saying the container paragraph and set the margin bottom to about 1 rem. Like we can reduce some of these margins as well as the one on the UL. So for the dot container UL, we can set the margin bottom to about 1 rem as well. You can see that we can do some bit of optimization, and then we can do what else is remaining here. You know what, I want the margin of 2 rem to still be here because these elements look a bit close to me. So let me not add this. Let me remove this. And so what I'm going to do is, let me check this. I'm trying to zoom in because there's a bit of space, really tiny space inside here. So let's do this. Inside here, I'm going to reduce the padding. So I'm going to say padding of 1.5 rem on the top, 1.5 rem on the left and right, and then 1 rem on the bottom. Let's say 0 on the bottom. It's still there. I mean, it's still there. It's really bothering me. Do you see that? Do you see this? Do you see like the tiny space that is here? It has like a tiny space. I don't know why that happens really. And actually, if you know why that happens, then please, I would love to be educated. Okay, so you know what I've just realized? We added our image inside a picture tag. That's what I've just realized. And it finally makes so much more sense. So what you need to do is, right inside this media query still, I'm just going to access the picture tag and access the image and set the height of the image to 100%. And hopefully this works. If this doesn't work, then I'm just going to submit it as it is. And there we go. You even saw it resize. I mean, there we go. So now it's completely it's the same height as this other article, and that is much better. So now what I'm going to do is, because we have completed this project, I'm going to create a GitHub repository for it, and then I'm also going to go back into Frontend Mentor to submit it. So visit Challenge Hub, and then I'm going to just say submit solution, and then I'm going to open Netlify to deploy this. So create a repository, create a new repository, and I'm going to call this, what's it called? Product preview component. Product preview component. It's going to be public, so create repository. And then I'm just going to copy this, and then I'm going to initialize it. So let's create our repository. So git init. And then I'm just going to say git add design. Now I'm going to say git commit. These are the design files. Git add images. Git commit -m, and these are the images. Git add dot git ignore and git commit. This is the git ignore. Then git add index.css. Git commit. This is going to be the index.css. Oops. I need to, it's not index.css, so git commit -- amend to change your commit message. This is something interesting that you should know about. So git index.css. save this and then close it, and then it's going to commit it once again. And then git add index.html and git commit. This is going to be index.html. Let's just say, oh, let me just say index.html, and then git add readme. I want to add both of them, so I'm just going to say readme asterisk. And I'm going to say git commit. These are going to be the readmes, readme, and then git add style dash guide.md and git commit dash m, and I'm going to call this style guide. There we go. And then I'm going to say git remote add origin, and paste in that link that I copied to my repository. And then I'm going to say git push dash u origin main. Can't spell origin main, which is going to push it into my GitHub repository, into my remote repository. So just wait a moment because my internet is slow. And there we go. And then now I can reload this, and we're going to see our project complete. There we go. And then now I can go into Netlify, I can log in, and then we can deploy this repository. So product preview component into Netlify. I'm just going to say, so import and wait a minute, deploy manually, start from import an existing project from GitHub. And then I'm going to call this product preview component. Don't have to spell everything out, but you know, once you have the keywords inside here, then you can search automatically. So this is our repository. We just need to deploy site because it's an HTML. It's just going to deploy automatically. And then I'm going to change the name of this site. So change site name into, let me call this product preview component. Very long name. Let me check something. Does this one exist? Let me check if this exists. Does this exist? It's already taken. Okay. So once you have that, then we can preview it by clicking on this link, and this is our application. And then let's just copy this, and then let's go ahead into Frontend Mentor. This is going to be the live site URL. This is going to be the repository URL. Paste inside here, and then you can just submit solution. Oops, I didn't have the title. So product preview component. Let me call this mobile first in HTML and CSS, and then submit solution. Okay, and you can see how we did by, where is it, view solution, and then just going inside here, and you can see that we have this. So the solution is the one on the right, is this one, and then our design is this one. So we got pretty close to it, pretty close to it. And yeah, there we go. So that is going to be the video, and if you enjoyed it, if you learned something new, then please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.